Teenage Deck Building. I am your host, Demo, and what is going on with Boros? Boros really seems to be all over the place lately. You know, most two-color combinations sort of have an identity, right? They often tend to be in a particular theme. Boros, of course, being the combination of red and white, for the longest time was the attacky theme, I guess, right? You had cards like Aurelia and Tajik, Blade of Legion. We're looking at just the commanders here, Jor-Kadeen, you had Kalemne, Disciple of Ireos. And then, of course, you had the equipment theme, or aura and equipment theme, for which there has always been those commanders, and there probably always will be. They're always going to be printing that, but they've really gone off in a completely different direction with Boros in the last couple of years, to the point where it doesn't really have any identity at all anymore. Again, if you think about the Boros color combination, what do you associate with it? I guess equipment, maybe a little bit. That's the only one that really sticks in my head. Maybe the damage theme a little bit. But if we start looking at the commanders that have come out in the last couple of years in Boros colors, they are all over the map. And the reason I think why this originally started is because, for those who are new to the format, Boros was sort of the joke of the format. It was considered the worst two-color combination. Nobody wanted to play it. The commanders were awful for the most part, and I will attest to that as someone who likes to play underwhelming commanders. Man, it was really tough. You know, when I first heard this whole meme of Boros being horrible and nobody wanting to play it, that I saw as a challenge, and I wanted to go out and make a Boros deck. And the commander I found to be the most interesting one, sort of, was Bassandra Battle Seraph. That was my first Boros deck. You know, there wasn't a ton to choose from back then. It's a 3 red and a white angel 4/4 with flying. Players can't cast spells during combat, and you can pay red and target creature attacks this turn if able. And I tried to make a deck with it. I made a decent one, I guess. The problem here is that this commander nerfs itself. I mean, I suppose you could use this as your commander if you don't want your opponent's casting spells during combat. Sure, that can be good, but you want to be casting spells during combat, right? They put that ability on it so that you can't just make all your opponent's creatures attack and then cast a Settle the Wreckage. But that's probably what you want to do in the deck, right? So they essentially made this commander so that it doesn't really work with its own ability, which is pretty disappointing. So what Wizards of the Coast decided to do, I guess, is just go in a bunch of different directions, right? I mean, if you just look at some of the most popular Boros commanders in the format, I mean, number one, we got Oscar the Reconstructor, which is doing an artifact theme. It's doing an artifact recursion theme, which is definitely not something we had ever seen in Boros before. Now, I will point out that Strixhaven C21, the combination there, was actually supposed to be a sort of refitting of the color combination. So you did have a lot of the two color combinations doing things that they normally wouldn't do. So, okay, that's fair. However, second most popular Boros commander, Feather the Redeemed, which came out in War of the Spark. And again, a commander that we had never seen anything like this before. And this is one that absolutely rocketed in popularity for that reason. I mean, it's a great commander. There's a lot of interesting things you can do with it. It's powerful, of course. But I think the main reason why Feather skyrocketed in popularity so quickly is because it was just a really great Boros commander. We hadn't really seen one before, right? Before that was Firesong and Sunspeaker. That was the one commander where everyone was like, okay, there's a Boros commander that's actually doing something interesting. It's not doing the attacky theme. It's not doing equipment. It's doing something sort of unique and interesting. And that became a popular Boros commander as well. By the way, all the commanders I've talked about so far have absolutely nothing to do with each other. How about Winota, Joiner of Forces, the third most popular Boros commander? Whenever a non-human creature you control attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may put a human creature card from among them onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. It gains indestructible until end of turn. So stop me when you hear a commander that is doing something similar to what another commander is doing, because so far we're all over the place here. How about General Ferris Rokirik? This is the 6th most popular Boros commander right now. It's doing a multicolored theme, right? So has hexproof from monocolored. Whenever you cast a multicolored spell, create a 4/4 red and white golem artifact creature token. Like, what? When did this become a Boros thing, right? We're just sort of all over the place with Boros now. It's not bad for Boros. I mean, it is definitely not the least popular two-color combination anymore. There's a lot of really popular commanders in Boros, but the theme here is all over the place. There is no common theme here at all. You look at T'Pala Pilot Exemplar, we're doing Dwarf and Vehicle Tribal. You look at Alibu Ancient Witness, we're doing artifact creatures. You look at Zabaz the Glimmer Wasp, which I guess is an artifact creature, but is doing a modular theme, which Again, seems like a weird choice for a Boros commander modular. How about Hoffrey Ghostforge? This is a commander that is doing not only Spirit Tribal, which seems weird in Boros colors, but is also doing recursion and token copy creation, which is definitely not something that we see in Boros colors. And the reason why I decided to make this video is because of a new commander that just came out that got spoiled from Brothers War, Queen Kayla bin Krug. I saw this commander and I was like, man, what is going on with Boros? I mean, we are all over the map here with Boros commanders in the last couple of years. So 1 red and a white human noble 2/3. Pay 4 and tap. Discard all the cards in your hand. Then draw that many cards. So already we're in a theme that isn't in Boros at all. We're in a discard, draw, like wheel theme. I guess that's sort of a red thing. It's not a white thing at all. You may choose an artifact or creature card with mana value 1 you discarded this way. Then do the same for artifact or creature cards with mana value 2 and 3. Return those cards to the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery. I mean, what about this card is doing anything that you would typically see in Boros? We've certainly never seen anything like this in Boros before. If I showed you this commander and it was completely colorless and I said, choose a color combination for this commander, how many people out there, I mean, honestly, raise your hand if you would have said, that looks like a Boros commander to me. I don't think anyone would have. I probably would have said Dimir, which is essentially the opposite of Boros. Doing the draw discard theme, which is very Dimir feeling. It is also doing a recursion theme. Again, I guess you could say the artifact recursion theme has sort of become a Boros thing a little bit, mostly because of Oscar. White does the recursion thing with creatures a little bit. So yeah, I mean, I guess we are in this theme a little bit. I don't know. The combination of the abilities is like, what the heck? Doesn't feel like a Boros commander at all. And, you know, I guess it's okay that these abilities are on a Boros commander. I don't think we're totally breaking the color pie here, but the point I'm trying to get to is, man, are we all over the place with Boros commanders lately? Again, except for the few exceptions when it comes to equipment commanders in Boros, almost every Boros commander, especially the popular ones that they've printed in the past couple of years, are completely all over the place and have almost no commonality amongst them at all. Now, is that a bad thing? I mean, I don't know. It certainly has helped Boros with its popularity in the format, and there are a lot of really interesting commanders. Certainly Feather and Wynota are really fantastic commanders. There's just an incredible amount of stuff you can do as far as building around them. That's why they're so popular. I don't think it's necessarily bad. I just think it's interesting and kind of funny. And if you've been playing the format for a long time, and again, Boros was sort of this joke in the format where all the commanders sort of did the same thing. It was very boring, sort of that attacky theme, really easy to shut down. And I guess Wizards of the Coast just flipped the switch and just decided, hey, let's just go in a million different directions with Boros and see if we can make it more popular in the commander format. And they certainly have done so. I myself have my Gerard Weatherlight Hero deck, which I guess is sort of doing the artifact and creature recursion theme. So I don't know, has that become the Boros thing? Has artifact and creature recursion sort of become the Boros thing a little bit? Maybe. I guess that is a little bit of a common thread here with some of these Boros commanders. Certainly value, a lot of great value commanders. You know, maybe that is the common thread, is lots of super value-y commanders where you're getting tons of card advantage off of what your commander's doing, right? You think of Wynota cheating creatures into play, Feather getting those cards back in your hand, Oscar getting those artifacts out of your graveyard. Maybe that's what's going on here. Maybe, you know, again, Boros was sort of this horrible color combination where you didn't really have any card draw, you didn't really have a lot of great card advantage. So maybe they just decided we're going to start building Boros commanders that don't necessarily fit any theme, but are giving you card advantage. They certainly have done that. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's interesting. Again, though, if you were asking somebody, what does Boros colors do? 5 years ago, it would have been easy to answer that question. Now, I don't even know what to say, right? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, but that is it for today, and thanks for tuning in.